Welcome, dear listeners, to Not How Life Works, a channel where mysteries intertwine with the essence of existence, bringing us on a journey through secret passages and magical worlds that extend far beyond what the eyes can see. We traverse the enthralling world of the 10 dimensions in this region of unlimited wonder, writing stories that weave together the colors of human experience into one vast and fascinating journey. A voyage that calls to seasoned travelers, curious young minds, and those seeking a taste of adventure before the night's embrace. Tonight, we invite you to nestle in and join us for the adventure of the Tower of Infinity. A story laced with intrigue, seasoned with peril, and resonating with cosmic wisdom. But before we go, let us enter a sanctuary of calm and tranquility. Find a cozy retreat, maybe a favorite resting spot, and close your eyes. Inhale deeply, absorbing the tranquil air. Hold and savor the stillness. Exhale slowly, releasing the burdens of the day. Repeat this meditation, breathing in calmness, holding and breathing out distractions. Feel yourself becoming lighter, like a gentle wisp of cloud. Should thoughts drift by, imagine them as fleeting shadows. Breathe in appreciation for the day's journey, and breathe out, making way for dreams and stories. Continue this gentle rhythm of breath, feeling your heart glow with warmth. You're now prepared to traverse the infinite landscapes of James's mystical world. But first, let's meet our storytellers for tonight. In a cozy home filled with the gentle glow of lamplight, a young boy eagerly awaits his bedtime story. His father, James, is a man of many tales, known not just for his vivid storytelling, but also for his mysterious adventures that whisper secrets of other dimensions. Every night, James tucks his son into bed with a new story, painting worlds of pirates, dragons, and magical kingdoms. But tonight, the boy's curiosity has been piqued by rumors, whispers of his father's enigmatic journeys into realms unknown. "Dad, tell me a story," James's young son urged, his eyes aglow with eager curiosity. "Ah, my little adventurer," James answered, a tender smile adorning his face. "What tale shall we weave tonight? Heroes, giants, mysterious lands?" "Tell me about your adventures in the dimensions," the child pressed. James's smile wavered into a reflective frown. "The dimensions, you say? Those are intricate journeys, perhaps a tad perplexing for slumber's eve." "But Dad, you've told me of enchanted forests and mystical creatures. The dimensions must be even more thrilling." Pondering, James's face brightened with a knowing smile. "Very well, my astute one. Let me recount the time I ventured into the Tower of Infinity. In a distant land far beyond the horizons of our ordinary world stood the Tower of Infinity. It was said to reach both the heavens above and the abyss below, its floors stretching eternally upward and downward. "Dad, how can a building have endless floors?" his son interrupted, his eyes wide with wonder. "A fair question, my clever explorer," James replied. "Imagine, if you will, each floor representing a possibility, an outcome, a universe even. Within its mysterious walls, a young princess was confined, not by force, but by a riddle wrapped in an enigma. The princess was wise beyond her years, possessing a keen understanding of the universe's dimensions. Her insights threatened those who believed in finite thinking, those who feared the boundless possibilities of the infinite. Thus, they locked her in the Tower of Infinity, believing that her wisdom would be contained within its endless flaws. Many had tried to reach her, driven by curiosity, ambition, or the desire for knowledge. Yet all had failed, for the tower's enigmatic nature confounded even the most brilliant minds. It was said that she lay trapped on the last floor. But the question was, which last floor? Was it the one above or the one below? One day, a mysterious guide appeared at my door, his eyes twinkling with wisdom yet shrouded with enigma. He told me of the princess's plight and the many who had tried and failed to reach her. Guided by a calling deeper than curiosity, I found myself at the threshold of the Tower of Infinity. Before I set off, the mysterious guide offered me 3 objects, each holding a promise of infinity. First, a bag of food and water that would regenerate supplies infinitely. A journey through eternity could starve even the boldest adventurer, the guide warned. I considered this, but something in my heart told me it wasn't the solution. Next, an infinite rope that could stretch as long as needed or retract to any length. To navigate the swaying floors above, or trace your way in the lower mazes, the guide explained, his eyes flickering with something inscrutable. I was tempted by the rope, but again I sensed it wasn't the answer. Finally, the guide presented an infinite grain of sand so small it was almost invisible. This, he said, has no apparent use. And so, after a moment's contemplation, I chose the infinite grain of sand. Something about the guide's words, the paradox of an object with no apparent use in a place of infinite complexity, drew me to it. It seemed to me that in a place beyond the finite, the undefined held the key. The Tower of Infinity loomed before me, stretching both upward into the sky and downward into the earth, a dizzying maze of endless floors. The guide had warned me that the princess I sought was on the last floor. But what did that mean in a place with no beginning or end? The ground floor of the tower held an elevator, a strange and timeless machine with buttons unlit. With only the ground floor labeled as 0 and up and down arrows located adjacent, I had no guidance. I felt a chill of anticipation as I stepped inside and looked at the buttons, understanding that I had to choose my path without knowing the destination. I remembered the guide's words about the swaying floors above and the lurking creatures below. James said, his voice dropping to a whisper. I decided to ascend first, for I dared not to venture into the deep. As I ascended higher into the tower, days passed and I grew hungry. The floors began to sway with an uncanny rhythm as if they were alive. There were no windows, so it was impossible to know how high up I had actually traveled. Just the 4 walls of the mysterious elevator. They seemed to breathe, pulsating to some unseen heartbeat. I stopped the elevator as I could no longer tolerate its shaking. With curiosity, I was compelled to explore this strange phenomenon. I stepped onto one of the swaying floors and immediately felt a sensation like no other. A bright light coming from the windows almost blinded me, and as my eyes got accustomed to the piercing light, I saw the horizon of the earth in front of me. I had traveled to the edge of space itself, But my momentary awe was immediately transformed into a pulsating nightmare. The floor beneath my feet was undulating, rocking back and forth in a dance that I couldn't comprehend. I tried to walk, but my feet slid out from under me, and I was tossed around like a leaf in a storm. I crawled back to the elevator, my hands and knees scraped and bruised from the violent shaking. I realized that ascending further was impossible. The swaying grew more intense with each floor, and I knew that going higher would only lead to greater chaos. I pressed the button to descend, knowing full well that it will take me days to even reach my starting point. The elevator took me into the depths of the tower, into the underground where the dark creatures dwelled. I traveled again for days, my hunger worsening with each passing floor. But at least the swaying had subsided. As I ventured lower, the atmosphere grew dense and heavy. The air was thick with shadows, and I could hear the scuttling of unseen things in the dark. The walls of the elevator grew wet and covered with strange markings, like the scribblings of a madman. The ever-increasing ominous sounds forced me to stop the elevator and explore one of the floors. The door opened, and the floor I entered was twisted into bizarre shapes, forming mazes and labyrinths that seemed to shift and change as I moved through the corridors, quickly losing sight of the elevator. I could hear whispers in the dark, voices that called my name, leading me deeper into the maze. Suddenly I saw something. Creatures only in glimpses, eyes that glowed red in the dark, talons that scraped against the stone, shadows that moved with a mind of their own. They never attacked, but they watched me, growing ever nearer, climbing onto the walls and ceiling, always watching, as if they were waiting for something. It was a nightmare. I wandered for what felt like eternity, lost in a world that defied all reason, with monsters growing ever closer to my skin. But I never gave up. I knew that I had to find the princess, that I had to solve the riddle of the Tower of Infinity. Filled with terror, I scoured into a corner, regretting not choosing the rope which might have helped me find my way back. I began to listen, to feel the vibrations of the tower through the monstrous whispers that grew nearer. I realized that since the tower swayed at the top, there must be vibrations near the center of the building. Slowly I sensed a faint hum, a frequency that seemed to resonate from the heart of the tower. I followed that hum, trusting my instincts, knowing that it would lead me to the core, to the elevator. I crawled and stumbled, guided only by that subtle sound, that infinite rhythm that pulsed through the very walls. The creatures watched me, their eyes glowing in the dark. But they did not hinder my progress. It was as if they knew I had found the key. And finally, after what felt like an eternity, I reached the elevator. I pressed the button and the doors opened, welcoming me back into the realm of light. It was now out of the question to venture further below, but also impossible to go all the way up. Where was the princess? As my elevator ascended and the demonic sounds receded, I began to regret not choosing the infinite bag of supplies. I had barely managed to escape the swaying floors and the terrifying depths, only to come face to face with the greatest enemies, hunger and thirst. I glanced at the 0 button, and my thoughts drifted to the concept of infinity, the number that is everything and nothing at the same time. Could it be? Could the answer to the Tower of Infinity be as simple and complex as the number 0? With a trembling finger, he pressed the 0 button, and the elevator came to a sudden stop. He felt a sensation of lightness, as if the very essence of the tower was transforming. The doors opened, and there she was, the princess. Her eyes sparkled with intelligence and kindness, her face glowing with a timeless beauty. "You found me," she said, her voice like a melody and yet tinged with sorrow. "Many have tried, but none have succeeded." "The number 0, James explained. "It's infinite, just like this tower. It's everything and nothing all at once." The princess nodded thoughtfully, but her gaze soon fell to the floor, her eyes filled with uncertainty. "And now you have become the tower's next victim," she said. "We are trapped here. The elevator door is locked from the inside, and there are no stairs. I've tried everything. There's no way out." Days turned into nights as the princess and I explored the room, searching for any hidden paths or clues. The princess fed me from a small supply of food she had, and we talked, sharing thoughts and ideas, trying to understand the mystery of the Tower of Infinity. I often found myself gazing at the princess, admiring her courage and intelligence. She was a paradox herself, a blend of strength and vulnerability. I knew that the key to our escape lay not just in understanding the tower, but in understanding each other. As the days wore on, we grew closer, learning from each other, challenging each other's ideas, and slowly unraveling the riddle of the tower. One evening, as we sat by the window, looking out at the infinite floors above and below, I remembered the third object the guide had offered me before my journey, the infinite grain of sand. I pulled out the grain of sand and held it up. "What about this? Maybe we haven't given it a proper try." He said it had no use, but I believe that he might be telling a small piece of the truth. The princess stared at the grain, her eyes widening with realization. "Something with no use must have infinite uses. You mentioned that it is an infinite grain of sand, therefore it can become infinitely many things. A key for a lock." We spent days experimenting with the grain, discovering its infinite potential, learning to shape it with our thoughts and intentions. It became a symbol of our shared journey, a testament to our growing connection. Finally, we were ready. Together we focused our thoughts, and the grain of sand transformed into a key. I inserted it into the lock, and the door opened. We stepped out of the chamber, finding ourselves in the wide valley where I had first found the tower. A familiar figure awaited us, the mysterious guide who had sent me on this adventure. His eyes sparkled with wisdom and satisfaction as he approached us. "You have done it," he said, his voice resonating with a deep knowledge of the universe. "You have unraveled the Tower of Infinity, not by brute force or endless supplies, but by embracing the infinite potential of the mind and the limitless possibilities of a grain of sand." He turned to the both of us. "You chose the path less traveled, and you've learned that infinity is not a destination but a way of thinking. Never forget the power of 0. With a knowing smile, he vanished. "Dad, that was incredible," James's son exclaimed, his eyes wide with awe and excitement. James kissed his son's forehead, tucking him into bed. "Yes, Remember, sometimes the most complex puzzles have the simplest solutions, and even the most daring adventures can be found in a single grain of sand. With a blissful smile, his son drifted into sleep, his dreams filled with endless floors and mysterious corridors, wisdom and courage. And James sat by his side, grateful for the stories that united them, bridging dimensions and igniting the infinite possibilities within their hearts. As the whispers of tonight's adventure begin to fade, dear listeners, we hope you've found inspiration and wonder within the twists and turns of James's journey through the Tower of Infinity. Here, at Not How Life Works, our stories are more than mere entertainment. They are a gateway to the profound, the unexpected, the infinite. With each tale, we weave threads of courage, wisdom, and love, inviting you to explore the hidden layers of existence, to challenge the boundaries of your thoughts, and to dance with the enigmas of our complex world. Now, as you drift closer to the realms of dreams, let the discoveries of tonight's story serenade you with whispers of mystery and echoes of truth. Wrap yourself in the warm embrace of imagination, knowing that when you awaken, a new door will open, leading you to another exploration, another adventure, another reminder that the world around us is filled with beauty, intricacy, and delightful paradoxes. So hold tight to the lessons learned and the adventures shared. For in this magical world where dimensions intermingle and infinite possibilities unfold, we realize that sometimes understanding life's mysteries and navigating its challenges isn't about following a conventional path or obeying the rules we thought we knew. And that realization, dear listeners, is what makes this journey so enthralling, because it's a reminder that sometimes that's simply not how life works.